You're listening to the Wells Report, which will return in 1 minute. The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning, I'm John David Wells. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We de-propagandize the mainstream media. We also make commentary. Commentary is not news. Commentary is opinion, both yours and mine. So let's debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Tragedy this morning as we report the loss of 4 police officers, including 3 on a U.S. Marshals task force. They were killed, 4 other officers injured in a shooting while attempting to serve a fugitive warrant in Charlotte, North Carolina. Around 1:30 p.m. yesterday, members of the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force were attempting to serve a warrant for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon in a suburban home in Charlotte. That's Charlotte, Mecklenburg County. The police department chief, Johnny Jennings, said during a news conference, the suspect opened fire on the officers with a high-powered rifle as they approached the residence. Officers returned gunfire, struck the suspect, who was later pronounced deceased in the front yard of the residence. This, according to Chief Jennings. A second person inside the residence also opened fire on officers. CBS News has a superb report on this. Let's take a look at it here on the Wells Report.
A deadly attack on federal and local law enforcement officers in Charlotte, North Carolina. As we come on the air, the FBI is now among multiple law enforcement agencies at the scene of a suburban home where 3 members of a U.S. Marshal task force were killed and 5 others injured while executing a fugitive warrant. We are just learning that arrest warrant was for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, and 2 occupants of that house are now being questioned. There were reports that as many as 100 shots rang out in the neighborhood. This is the latest ambush attack on law enforcement officers following a similar incident last night in Kenner, Louisiana, where 3 officers were shot and survived. Chief investigative reporter Nick Oxner of our CBS affiliate WBTV will lead us off tonight from Charlotte.
Shots fired at officer, possibly 1 down. Subjects, correction, 2 down. Subjects barricaded himself.
Just before 2 p.m., a U.S. Marshals task force was attempting to serve a warrant in Charlotte, North Carolina, when at least 1 suspect inside the house opened fire.
Tragically, there were 3 members of the U.S. Marshals Task Force who were pronounced deceased, and there were 4 CMPD officers who were shot, 1 being in critical condition, who is now in the hospital fighting for his life.
Officers, including SWAT teams, quickly responded and shut down the neighborhood, including nearby schools.
We were driving by, we heard about over 100 gunshots. It sounded like World War III.
Neighbor Tyler Wilson said the shootout lasted for 30 minutes.
There was shots ringing left and right. We had SWAT and U.S. Marshals set up snipers in our bedrooms. There was an officer got drugged by his arms to our house.
Police say 1 suspect has been killed, and they are questioning 2 other people found inside the house.
Today we lost some heroes that are out to just simply trying to keep our community safe.
Today's shooting is the deadliest day for law enforcement since July 2016, when 5 Dallas police officers were shot and killed during a protest against police abuse.
Excluding today, 10 U.S. Marshals have been killed in the line of duty in the last 5 years.
That is horrific news coming out of Charlotte. After a long standoff, this, by the way, according to USA Today, Jennings said officers cleared the residence, took 2 people inside the home, including a 17-year-old, into custody for questioning. Jennings said it's believed at least one of the 2 had fired on officers. Quote, "Today is an absolutely tragic day for the city of Charlotte and for the profession of law enforcement," Jennings said during a news conference. "Today we lost heroes that are out there simply trying to keep our community safe." You heard him say that. 3 members of the U.S. Marshals Task Force were pronounced dead, according to Jennings. Charlotte-Mecklenburg police later confirmed the other officer critically wounded in the shooting had died at the hospital. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper said in a post on X that 2 officers killed were working with the U.S. Marshals Task Force at the time and were from the State Department of Adult Correction. "Our hearts are heavy tonight for the lives shattered by today's horrific shooting in Charlotte, North Carolina," said the governor. "We mourn the loss of our deputy and 2 task force officers." This, according the U.S. Marshals Service said. "We are grateful for all the support. We keep the families and colleagues of all of our officers involved in our thoughts." Charlotte-Mecklenburg police and said Officer Joshua Iyer died last night from his injuries. Iyer had served on the police department's North Tryon Division for 6 years. "We are forever indebted to Officer Iyer for his bravery and ultimate sacrifice, and his life and service will never be forgotten." The North Carolina Department of Adult Corrections said in a statement on Monday that 2 of its officers were killed in the shooting, Sam Peloche and Alden Elliott, both 14-year veterans with the agency. They were task force officers assigned to the U.S. Marshals Carolina's Regional Fugitive Task Force. Quote, "They love their work and were passionate about their roles protecting our communities. These officers died as heroes and made the ultimate sacrifice in their service to our state." Before Monday's incident, about 21 Charlotte-Mecklenburg police officers have been killed by gunfire. This, according to the nonprofit organization Officer Down Memorial page. In 2007, 2 Charlotte-Mecklenburg police officers were shot and killed while responding to a disturbance call in East Charlotte. And so what we find here is we find the result of what are nothing short of criminally irresponsible acts by prosecutors and by politicians vilifying law enforcement officers. That's the way I see it. That is the way I see it. How about you? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. When you stop enforcing laws against criminals based on some external idea or agenda, you put police officers' lives at risk. That's simply the case. It is beyond doubt completely irresponsible behavior on the part of anybody responsible for talking about how police officers are the problem. Criminals are the problem. This is a fugitive. This fugitive is someone who is a convicted felon. In this country, laws exist that make it abundantly clear that convicted felons cannot possess firearms. This opens up the idea that firearms laws simply do not work. Newt Gingrich said it brilliantly once. He said, if gun restriction laws would, if gun law, this supposed common sense gun law, if these laws work, then how come they don't work? They simply do not work. The only thing you can do is you can say, okay, if somebody has a firearm and they are a convicted felon, they are going away for life. You have to start holding criminals responsible for possessing weapons. You don't hold law-abiding citizens responsible for criminals holding weapons. Criminals don't care about gun law. They don't care about any law. That's why they're convicted felons. These police officers go out every day and they find people breaking the law and they arrest them. 99.8% of all those arrests are completely legitimate. They take them to the jail, they book them in, they file the charges, and some prosecutor says, well, you know what? There are too many racist police officers on our police force, and they are enforcing law unjustly, and they let these guys go. Time and time again, we have seen these criminals let go by these prosecutors commit deadly crime. Now, I'm not saying that that's the case here, but I'm saying that that's the case a lot of places. We don't know whether this guy had been let out for whatever reason. Was he paroled? We don't know. Was he someone who was let go by a progressive police officer? Again, we don't know. What we do know is this. Politicians, the media, a lot of people, prosecutors are simply egging on this kind of behavior, and it is costing us the best people in our society as a group. This is irresponsible governance. There's nothing short of it. And yes, it does cross over into the idea that the only way that we can stop gun violence is to take law-abiding citizens' weapons away from them. That's simply not going to work. We know that because of what's happened in Charlotte and, what's happened in Australia and what's happened in Canada. This simply does not work. In London, England, there's a guy that was wielding a sword, ended up killing somebody today. People will kill. Evil people will kill. The only thing you can do about that is defend yourself. How can you defend yourself if you don't have the tools to do it? And once again, the people that are defending themselves are law-abiding citizens. The political aspect of this seems plain to me, and once again, this is just my opinion. There is another reason to try to disarm a law-abiding public, and that is so there is no possible defense against an overreaching, tyrannical, oppressive government. I mean, after Australia got rid of all of their guns, police officers were throwing people to the ground for not getting the COVID vaccine. This is where we're headed. This is where we're headed, all because of a political agenda and the mainstream media dutifully reporting gun violence stories left, right, and center, and vilifying police officers for enforcing the law. In this nation, when you get arrested, you are not guilty of anything. You are suspected of being guilty of something. There are charges filed. You are not guilty until you are proven so. You are innocent. Yes, you have been taken into custody. Yes, you are sitting in jail. Yes, you're going to spend a whole lot of money getting out of jail, even if you're innocent. And so, once again, you need to make sure that you follow the law and don't find yourself in the hands of police officers. That's the way the system works. People who violate the law must be held accountable. And these ideas that some convicted felon can be released from jail and then go out and buy himself a firearm or have somebody give him a firearm or go out and steal a firearm. All these things are pie in the sky, leftist, progressive, disarm the public deliriums. They are bad dreams. And those bad dreams have visited themselves on U.S. Marshals and a Charlotte police officer. Irresponsible government. The people responsible need to leave. That means that as you think about all these elections that come at you from various times, you do have to, as a responsible steward of the United States of America and the place where you live, look over these ballot initiatives and all of these choices and these people. Find out who these people are. Don't be dissuaded by a fancy commercial that says one thing when the people that they're talking about mean something completely different. Do your homework. As we come to this conversation in these United States, there is no casual vote. There is no casual opportunity for you to seek redress from a government. This is the Wells Report. Thanks very much for being with us. As we get things rolling on a Tuesday morning, we'll be back with more coming up in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Good morning. This is the Wells Report. It is Tuesday, April 30th, year of our Lord, 2024. Thanks very much for being with us today. We have more gun violence news. A 16-year-old boy has been charged in the killing of a middle school teacher during a burglary in Central California last year. Officers found Sergio Martin, a 50-year-old teacher for the Cutler-Orosi Joint Unified School District, dead from multiple gunshot wounds in his home in Dinuba, California, around 3 a.m., November 6th, 2023. At the time, police described the shooting as a random act of violence, said the suspect was not a former student of Sergio Martin. The teenager was charged with murder and burglary, among other counts, the Tulare County District Attorney said. He was arraigned in Tulare County Juvenile Court last Friday. Under California law, the boy will be tried as a juvenile because he was 15 at the time of the killing. If convicted, he can only remain in custody until the age of 25. 2 others were also charged in the burglary connected to the crime. This according to the district attorney's office. Jorge Arrieta and Joseph Garcia were charged with second-degree burglary and as accessories to the murder. Arrieta is charged with having stolen property, according to the prosecutor. The 2 were arrested last Friday, Arrieta remaining in custody and arraigned yesterday. Garcia was released on bail, scheduled to return to court on May 22nd for his arraignment. USA Today is working on tracking down attorneys for Arrieta and Garcia for comment. So, once again, we have random acts of violence. Well, okay, we'll find out during the trial. We have kids wandering around, being seduced by gangs into violent activity, perhaps. Not saying that that's the case here. California has some of the most restrictive gun laws in the country. And yet, here we go again, because if gun laws work, how come gun laws don't work? So the circumstance for me on this one is, okay, where did the gun come from? Did it come from one of the parents? If it did, do those parents now live under a cloud of also being accessories to murder? And would you agree with that if they indeed were? If, say, for example, this kid got this gun from his dad's dresser drawer or wherever it was, is the dad responsible? Is the dad partially responsible? I say yes. Yes, I do. I say that. I believe that if you have a juvenile living in your house and you have weapons available to them, and indeed they take that weapon and they go out and commit mayhem, you are an accessory to that crime. By the way, I'll tell you, California has very strict laws with regard to storage of handguns. I'm not saying that that's the case this time around. I'm not saying that's the case this time around. What I am saying is this. I'm saying that if you have a kid at home, you had better either train them in the uses and the dangers of handguns, which I did with my son Colton. And if indeed you have that situation, you need to make sure that those weapons are out of sight. You have to make sure that they are secure. Now, to be perfectly honest with you, I have a locked room that I keep my weapons in. I do. Not all of them. But I do make abundantly clear to Colton that these are very dangerous toys. Not toys, excuse me. These are very dangerous tools, I meant to say. These are very dangerous. And I went out and showed him why they were dangerous. And he understands and understood then when he was just a baby. He was 3, I think, or 3 or 4. He might have been 4 when he sat down and watched me clean my 45 once. And then I went through the Eddie the Eagle NRA program and showed him everything there was to know. Then took him out and let him shoot them. He understands those weapons. He understands how dangerous they are. But to be perfectly honest, if Colton had gone the wrong direction and if he had taken one of my weapons and went out and committed mayhem, I would accept whatever society would say would be my responsibility for that. Because that's what I believe. Parents are responsible for weapon use, illegal weapon use by their kids. Do you agree? Disagree? 817-379-2172. The Wells Report rolls on next.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. Thanks very much for joining us. If you find value in this show, please subscribe to it. Share it with your friends. Ask them to subscribe. Give us those thumbs ups. Those are very important. They are calculated. They are looked over as statistics for this broadcast, and it makes the people who have graciously given me a chance to put this on their platforms, and that is Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, Rumble, and indeed Patreon. It gives them some encouragement to do more with the broadcast, and that would be very, very good. By the way, you can go to Patreon and support the show financially. I feel queasy asking you about this, but indeed you can. If you'd like to throw us a couple of bucks every month, that would sincerely help us. There is hope this morning for ceasefire negotiations regarding Israel and Hamas. The New York Times reports it like this: Israeli negotiators offered a hint of hope for negotiations over a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. They have reduced the number of hostages they want the Hamas to release during the first phase of a truce. The people of Israel putting pressure on the Netanyahu government to get those hostages home. So far, no real push from the Biden administration on that very same subject. For weeks, ceasefire talks have been at a standstill. Now, with a new proposal in hand, a mid-ranking delegation from Israel was planning to fly to Cairo, Egypt, today to resume them, but only if Hamas agrees to attend. This, according to two of the officials. They spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the sensitive issue. Hamas did not respond to a request for comment about whether it would send representatives to Cairo. A senior Hamas official said on social media yesterday the group was studying the new Israeli proposal. The American Secretary of State, Antony J. Blinken, who was meeting in Saudi Arabia yesterday with Arab diplomats, said the onus was now on Hamas. That is completely and totally true. This CBS News report on the subject discusses just exactly where things stand. Take a look at it as we continue here on the Wells Report.
Under pressure and running out of options, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu faces mounting anger. Protests have ramped up on the streets of Israel with a vengeance, demanding he make a deal to bring those in captivity home, whatever the price. But hardliners in Netanyahu's ruling coalition say his job is on the line if he delays a Rafah invasion and negotiates with Hamas. His choice is stark: press ahead with Rafah or free the hostages, some of whom recently appeared in Hamas propaganda videos.
We are losing people that are alive now, and there is no time to waste.
There's been a flurry of diplomatic activity in the region, with Hamas also feeling the heat.
The only thing standing between the people of Gaza and a ceasefire is Hamas.
But once again, the Secretary of State made it very clear, without a plan to protect civilians, the U.S. does not support a Rafah offensive, saying the terrible suffering in Gaza must end. But with 3 strikes overnight and another this morning in Rafah alone, that feels very far away. Days and nights filled with the moans of injured children, the tears for tiny bodies wrapped in shrouds, and the silent pain of those who've cried far too much. Everyone here is sick of war and longs for it to end.
Secretary Blinken said today that Israel has made an extraordinarily generous proposal to Hamas. There is a lot riding on it if a deal is not reached.
Yeah, that is true. Here's the situation I see on this particular portion. This balanced report from CBS News showed Palestinians in Gaza wailing for the loss of children, etc., and that is terrible. My heart bleeds for the people of Gaza. But my mind also brings out a very important fact. These people voted multiple times, and certainly with their support, to support Hamas in their anti-Jewish killing agenda. And when you kill Jews, you pay a very serious price. The problem that the Netanyahu government faces is that there are people that are extremely upset about the fact that those hostages have not been brought home. That's true. And that's absolutely understandable. And these demonstrations are, in my mind, extremely appropriate. However, Hamas now resides in Rafah. Allergy season. And the Netanyahu government knows that that's where they are. That's why there is such a push to keep Netanyahu's government and the IDF out of Rafah. These people, these Hamas terrorists, are gathered there using these civilians as hostages. Maybe not necessarily sequestered hostages, but certainly hostages nonetheless. Hamas has no problem whatsoever with the death of their fellow Palestinians. They have no compunction or compulsion to back away from their anti-Jewish killing agenda. They want to kill Jews. That is all they do. And the Palestinians in Gaza voted them into office and maintained them there. They are responsible for their own misery. And indeed, Hamas could stop all of this anytime they wanted to. All they'd have to do is simply give away the hostages. But there are problems, aren't there? The problems are as follows. How many of these hostages are left alive? How many Jews in the custody of Hamas have lost their lives simply because Hamas hates Jews and had them in their hands and had a chance to take them out? We don't know. We know how many people were taken. How many people have lost their lives since they were taken? And there's another issue. While we're on the subject of demonstrations, why hasn't President Biden stood up and said, get the Americans out of there? Why aren't there demonstrations in front of the White House demanding that President Biden get American hostages out of the clutches of Hamas? Why hasn't that happened? You tell me. 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Are Americans afraid to protest against their government demanding the release of hostages? Are they afraid that they're going to end up being January 6th? Is that what's going to happen? These people show up. Are they instantly going to be investigated by the FBI for daring to stand up to the government of the United States and demanding the release of American hostages in the clutches of Hamas? I don't know, but that's a question that must be asked. And so, why hasn't that happened? How many of those Americans have also lost their lives while in the custody of Hamas? We don't know. Those videos you saw in that report, yeah, they were proof of life videos. We don't know when they were shot. We also don't know where the video of that suffering child, which broke my heart. We have no idea where that video came from. We don't know how old it is. We have no idea. We do know that Hamas uses propaganda against Israel and against the war that they started. By the way, the use of hostages or prisoners of war in videos to further propaganda efforts is a war crime. Will Hamas leaders face war crime trials? We don't know, but here's what we do know. The International Criminal Court is now considering whether to issue an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu for war crimes. This twisted, anti-Jewish, bigoted, rancid, horrifying idea, this idea that somehow it's the Jews that are the problem, belies anti-Jewish bigotry that spans the globe. It's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. We're going to report on that same anti-Jewish bigotry here in the homes of the United States, right here. This is a deadly virus. Anti-Jewish bigotry is a deadly virus that indeed, as I said, spans the globe. It must stop. It must stop immediately. Civilized people around the country indeed need to do something like that. They need to stand up for Jews, and indeed, that's happening. There are people who are Christians that are now standing with Israel and standing with Jews around the country to stop this mess. I'm Catholic. It is a Christian duty to stand for those oppressed. It's time for us to overwhelm this pocket, this pustule of anti-Jewish bigotry in the United States. I note that most of these so-called students in these so-called universities like Columbia, these anti-Jewish bigoted universities, I know that most of them are covering their faces. Why? Because at some level they know they are wrong and fear retribution. That retribution is important. That accountability is important. How many of these anti-Jewish bigots wandering around proclaiming their allegiance to Hamas and calling themselves terrorists? How many of those people are perhaps being considered for relief of their student loans in these incredibly expensive universities? We don't know. We don't know. But I guarantee you some of those people in those demonstrations are not only going to be able to get away with their anti-Jewish bigotry, but they're also going to get away with not having to pay their school loans. This demands a complete understanding of just exactly what these universities are teaching these children. There are anti-Jewish bigoted professors that profess the terrorism against the Jews in those universities. If you say, let's change the word Jew to black, what would be happening in this nation right now? Those universities would likely be shut down. Why isn't the President of the United States saying anything about these protests? Why isn't he doing anything? Why is this equivocation from the Biden administration that gives fuel to those who believe that Hamas should be left alone in Rafah by the Israeli Defense Force, thus creating a small little growth medium for Hamas to reconstitute itself sometime in the future? I'll tell you why. Just my opinion. Joe Biden wants this Palestinian, Arab, anti-Israel bigoted vote. If I was Joe Biden, I'd stand up in front of a microphone and say, look, if you believe that killing Jews is okay, if you believe in this rancid Palestinian cause, if you believe in any of that, I don't want your vote. This equivocation from the State Department against Israel has to stop. The Jews deserve a homeland. The Jews deserve a place where they can defend themselves. When the Jews are attacked, the just response is to support whatever retribution Israel believes is necessary. Yes, the Israeli Defense Force has laid waste to Gaza. That is going to leave a lasting reminder to anybody who believes they should be governed by a terror group to not support that terror group, or you're going to lose your house. It's going to take at least a decade to repair the damage in Gaza. Every day, people walk past those destroyed buildings. They should not think about the evil IDF. They should think about the evil Hamas government that has changed a fight for independence, a fight for their own home state, into a way to kill Jews. They have to make that abundantly clear to Hamas. I don't know whether anybody in the Gaza Strip has access to this broadcast. We do have listeners around the world. What they should do is they should drop dimes on Hamas. Tell the IDF where these guys are hiding inside Rafah. That way Israel can go in without bombing everything, without taking what are supposedly peaceful Palestinians and putting them in danger. It's time for the Palestinians to decide. Do they want a homeland? Do they want to live in prosperity and joy? Or do they want to continue to ally themselves with their government whose sole purpose on earth is to kill Jews. They've got to make that decision. I certainly hope they do soon. This is the Wells Report. We'll be back with more coming up in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. At Northwood Church in Keller, Texas, senior global pastor Bob Roberts has heard from congregants wrestling with the Israeli-Hamas war and the heightened emotions it's unleashed across the U.S. Some call for more support for Israel. Others want the same for Palestinians. This, by the way, being reported by USA Today. Our response is that no war is good, said Roberts, who founded the Dallas area church in 1985. Our goal is not to bring everybody to the same viewpoint. It's to help them understand that God created every person in the image of God and that all have the spark of divinity and should have the opportunity of life. As the latest Israel-Hamas war threatens to spawn wider global discord, frustrations over the toll of the conflict and growing numbers of the Palestinian civilian casualties are leaving Israel increasingly isolated. Well, that's not Israel's fault. It's Hamas's fault. You have to focus on that, in my humble opinion. But while some of the nation's approximately 210 million Christians strongly support one side or the other, many see themselves caught in the middle as the war strains interfaith relations, especially those between Jewish and Muslim communities, and incidences of anti-Semitism, which is an inappropriate word. That is anti-Jewish bigotry. And, oh, by the way, Islamophobia rise. We're kind of on the sideline, said Chris Hall, the minister of missions for Houston's Northwest Church in Texas. He said that at a recent interfaith gathering. With tensions among groups increasingly fragile, Hall said, how do I respond to my neighbor, or how I respond to my neighbor, has more depth than it has in years past. Okay. So for me, that's fine. What you're trying to do is stake out the middle ground. I don't believe there is middle ground. I believe this is clear. Hamas slaughtered over 1,200 Israelis during a ceasefire. They just slaughtered them, burned them, raped them, murdered them in horrific ways, took videos, bragged about it to their parents. And now are complaining that the IDF, after Hamas waged war on a nation with one of the finest militaries in the history of the human endeavor, they now complain about how that response was handled. You got a choice, as I said before. You either can live in prosperity and joy, or you can decide to kill Jews. If you kill Jews, prosperity and joy will not visit itself upon you. Destruction, damage, and death will visit itself upon you. You know, I appreciate the idea that these ministers are indeed calling on their congregations to take care in their communications with people of different religions. But to me, the Christian root is clear. As we live in a Judeo-Christian society, mostly, while being very careful to include everybody in the national conversation, Muslims, anybody of any faith, we as a nation and we as a Christian sect need to look at this clear-eyed, objectively, factually, and determine who is responsible and who we should support. I have been with the Jews here in Dallas-Fort Worth when they have protested what is happening. I've been there. I have watched Palestinian sympathizers across the street yelling and shouting the most virulent, awful, bigoted, anti-Jewish, genocidal remarks. I've been there. I've seen it for myself. This is clear. The Jews are under attack again with the same Nazi-like ideology that propelled 6 million of them into death. We, the people of the United States, we, the Christians of the United States, in my view, have a clear-cut course of action. Support Jews, unequivocally. Demand the redress of this equivocation against Jews by our government. Demand that it cease immediately. As a matter of fact, help the Jews find Hamas terrorists. Walk right into Rafah. Say, where are they? Somebody will speak to you. If they don't speak to you, if these Palestinians, when questioned, where are Hamas? Where are the Hamas operatives? If they don't answer you or what have you, they are supporters of Hamas. And as Hamas is an ideology that they believe is perfectly fine as their governance, then they are Hamas. Innocent Palestinians in Gaza, civilians in Gaza. Do they actually exist? Apparently not. This anti-Jewish bigotry is not only being imported into the United States, it's actually being cooperated with, especially among the country's great universities. I say great universities with some kind of, with a small matter of sarcasm, because anybody who would be bigoted against Jews or any other group isn't great at anything. They're just expensive. There's a great big difference. This is the Wells Report. Our telephone number 817-379-2172. The protests on American campuses next as we continue for this Tuesday, the 30th day of April, year of our Lord 2024. Our telephone number 817-379-2172. Give us a call. Tell us what you think. Back with more in the second hour of the Wells Report.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right. For about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning for the Wells Report, and make sure you share us with all your friends on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon, and don't forget to check out our Substack column, which will be coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. When you do all this, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us those thumbs up. They are really important. Check the notification box so you know when we're on the air, and whatever you do, join us every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Central Time, for the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We de-propagandize the mainstream media. Yes, indeed, we make commentary, but that's not news. We differentiate between news and commentary on this broadcast. When I'm opining, I tell you. Indeed, I change cameras so that you know that I'm speaking in opinion as opposed to reporting the news. No, the news is over here. But if you have a different opinion, by all means, share it with me. 817-379-2172. Love to hear from you. I want to understand just exactly all the issues from all sides on this broadcast. I may not agree with you, but the invitation stands. By all means, please share it. I only ask that you share it respectfully and you share it pragmatically, because I got to tell you, disrespect doesn't fly here. Arguments are boring. If you want to argue, call someone else. Hours after Columbia University began suspending students who did not abandon anti-Israeli Jewish bigotry at the heart of the campus, the agitators dialed up the demonstrations. They took over an academic building. It is horrendous. It is something that we are watching very carefully and reporting on here on the Wells Report. CNN has this report. Take a look at it as we continue for Tuesday morning on the Wells Report.
Universities take a tougher stand against pro-Palestinian protesters and their encampments. And that's led to the dramatic situation unfolding right now at Columbia University, the epicenter of the student protest movement. Demonstrators have taken over one of the main buildings on campus called Hamilton Hall. Last hour, a Columbia student called in from campus and explained exactly what was happening.
About 10 a.m. today, the university dropped some pamphlets amongst the student protesters, telling them if they did not disband by 2 p.m., they would face immediate interim suspension by the university. Now, that includes not graduating if you're a current senior. Nonetheless, I can confirm on the scene right now at Columbia University, there are at least 200 students. I repeat, at least 200 students who are organizing and barricading themselves outside of Hamilton Hall. The specific number of students inside the building is unclear, but I would estimate about a couple dozen have entered the building.
Well, earlier in the day, negotiations between protesters and administrators fell apart, and the university began suspending students. Demonstrators have been given a Monday afternoon deadline to disperse, which they defied.
We demand divestment. We will not be moved unless by force.
Yeah, that's where they're standing in Columbia University. And all those people, seeing them walk by the camera and hiding their faces. They know why they're hiding their faces, and so do we. They're wrong. They know it as well. And yet they continue their anti-Jewish bigotry virtually unhindered. It has to be pointed out at this particular moment that what we see are demonstrators taking over a building. Did that happen on January 6th? Yeah, it did. What happened to those people? Well, they were arrested by the DOJ and the FBI and any other federal law enforcement agency that could be taken into the idea that these people were creating some kind of insurrection. These people have declared themselves as Hamas followers. They are thus terrorists. Where is the DOJ? Where's the FBI? Where are all the wanted posters? So far, we haven't seen anything. Well, John David, you idiot. The big difference is that those people on January 6th were trying to overthrow the government. These are just kids trying to overthrow Columbia University. Yeah, okay, that's an important difference. But I do have to point this out. I do have to point out the fact that these are people that are rebelling against government or some kind of authority. These people are learning, and the people around the country are learning. In order to have some kind of successful protest, you have to do things that I don't know, maybe called good trouble. But there's a huge difference between the civil rights demonstrations of the 60s, where all these professors, I guess, cut their teeth on university protests and standing up saying, well, we have a long tradition of university protests on our campus. Yeah, well, not when it comes to anti-Israeli bigotry. Those demonstrations of the 60s that you so nostalgically refer to had to do with oppression on the part of the American government and, yes, American society against Black Americans. It was just. The country was better for it. It was unfortunate that all those demonstrations turned violent. Indeed, people were killed, Kent State. It is important to remember that. But these demonstrations are nothing more than an absolute flaunting of anti-Jewish bigotry among the supposed best and brightest of our nation. You must be joking. You must be joking. This is disgusting. Anybody that doesn't believe it's disgusting, well, you either have some sort of character conversation in your future, or you're an anti-Jewish bigot. It's very simple. Seems, well, it is, okay, at least it's very simple to me. Early this morning, hundreds of anti-Israeli protesters, as we continue with this Fox News report at Columbia's Manhattan campus, took over Hamilton Hall, the academic building used by the dean and other senior officers. The unruly group gained access shortly before 1 a.m., began moving metal gates to barricade the doors, blocking entrances with wooden tables and chairs, zip-tying doors shut. This according to the student newspaper, the Columbia Spectator. Other footage showed agitators in New York smashing windows, unfurling Palestinian flags, and shouting, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." The only cost of that, of course, is the destruction of the state of Israel. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. There is no moral high ground here. Outside the facility, the anti-Israeli rebels, most of whom wore masks, locked arms in front of Hamilton Hall to form a human barricade. On X this morning, I saw the very same thing. Forcing Jews to remain outside. And those people that were standing there with their arms locked wore Nazi brown shirts. What's the difference between these pro-Palestinian, anti-Jewish bigots and those people from the past, right before 6 million Jews met their death? What is the difference? Forgive me, but I don't see any. I don't see anything at all that doesn't dissuade me that these are the new Nazis. The students are demanding 3 things from the university: divest their financial support of Israel, become more transparent with the university's investments, and provide blanket amnesty to students who have taken part in the disruptive weeks-long demonstrations. Request denied. The mutiny comes after the university set a deadline of 2 p.m. yesterday for students to gather their belongings and leave their encampment of around 120 tents or face suspension. The university confirmed it began handing out suspensions with the aid of local and state law enforcement. There were a couple of people that were indeed arrested. During the unrest, New York Police Department officers arrived on the campus, did not enter it. This, according to the Columbia Spectator. The officers remained at the scene outside of campus, telling the publication they would only enter if they heard someone had gotten hurt. At least 3 facility workers inside the academic building when the anti-Israeli agitators stormed in, said the newspaper. The workers were subsequently allowed to leave at around 12:40 a.m., with one reportedly yelling, "They held me hostage," as he left the building. That's kidnapping. Again, where's the FBI? Where's the DOJ? Where is the Biden administration standing up and saying, "Go home"? Where is that? Famously, in the United States of America, President Trump was impeached for what was said was an encouragement of insurrection. Which is worse? Saying, and the president did not try to encourage this so-called insurrection. But what's the difference here? Instead of saying "go home" by the Biden administration, they're just remaining silent. That's tacit approval. I'm going to ask this question plainly. Is the Biden administration a collection of anti-Jewish bigots too? That's the way they look to me. That invalidates this administration from a moral standpoint at any level, in my view. And everybody responsible for this ridiculous straddling of the fence and not supporting of Israel, they need to leave. President Biden needs to stand up forthwith, use the presidential bully pulpit, and tell these kids to go home. He needs to send out the FBI and the DOJ to come up with something that those two agencies have seemingly forgotten: equal protection under the law. And all these old 60s people that talk about how great they are about getting rid of American bigotry in the United States, this is a character check. Something tells me they simply just don't have it, do they? It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. But that's where we find ourselves in these United States. And doggone it, what happened to the Democrat Party? What happened to those people that stood for American civil rights? Where are they? That entire party has been taken over by progressives, many anti-Jewish bigots, the squad. Where's the Democrat Party? Nowhere to be seen. Shame on you. Shame. It's unbelievable. Bigotry, open bigotry, genocidal bigotry, students yelling for the deaths of their fellow students who happen to be Jewish, and the administration is silent. How in hell does that happen? They want the Arab vote? They want the fifth column anti-Jewish bigoted vote? Because they themselves are showing themselves to be anti-Jewish bigots? Is that really the case? It seems so. It seems so. And that is beyond sad. And that is beyond awful. There's an election coming up. There are so many reasons to turn these people out of office. And I'm not saying just Democrats. I'm saying anti-Jewish bigots, whatever their party is. The people of the United States know better. We understand that everybody gets to live in the United States. E pluribus unum, of many one. And why don't we see this coming out of the administration? It's shameful. Shameful beyond words. That's the way I see it. How about you? Yes, my name's Wells. That's my opinion. What's your name? Why don't you share it with me? Get on the telephone, 817-379-2172. Tell me what you see here, whether you believe that this is a just demonstration. But I'm going to ask you, okay, you think this is a just demonstration, then you explain to me why this isn't virulent, genocidal, anti-Jewish bigotry. I'm really interested in hearing somebody do that. I've been asking for some Palestinian to come up, or some Hamas supporter to come up and show me exactly what they're talking about and tell me the reasons why it's just. Have you got the guts? Have you got them?
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. We report the news every day. It's our job. I hope it is something that you find valuable. If you do, pass this show along to your friends. Tulsi Gabbard is a real Democrat. Joe Manchin is another real Democrat. RFK Jr. is a real Democrat. There are real Democrats out there who are sickened by the ridiculous progressive takeover of a once great American political party. Tulsi Gabbard has written a book, For Love of Country, Leave the Democrat Party Behind. It's Regnery Publishing. And she says this: "We have no time to waste. We live in troubled times. Our nation is bitterly divided. Our future as a republic, as a union, appears bleak. The news, the noise, the insanity, the darkness is something that many of us want to shut out. There are times when all I want to do is grab my surfboard, paddle out into the ocean, or go for a hike in the mountains and appreciate the peace and majesty of Mother Nature. There is too much at stake in this moment to put our heads in the sand and go about our lives with blinders on, hoping the insanity will just fade away. The insanity and threats to our constitutional democracy will not fade away and will only increase unless we stand up and remind those trying to destroy this country that ours is a government of, by, and for the people." Tulsi Gabbard. "I joined the Democrat Party in Hawaii in 2002 because I saw a party that at the time appeared to be the party of the people, a party that valued free speech, welcoming all comers into a big tent where the sharing of diverse opinions and views on issues was encouraged. It was a party that fought for civil liberties and rights, remembering how neighbors and friends were thrown into Japanese internment camps during World War II, their freedoms taken away in an instant. It was a party inspired by JFK and Martin Luther King, who showed us what is possible when we as Americans come together. The party I joined over 20 years ago no longer exists today," says Tulsi Gabbard. "I could no longer remain in today's Democrat Party, which is now under complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers fueled by cowardly wokeness who divide us by racializing every issue and stoke anti-white racism, actively work to undermine our God-given freedoms enshrined in our Constitution and our Bill of Rights, and are hostile to people of faith and spirituality, demonize the police, protect criminals at the expense of law-abiding Americans, allow our borders to remain open while claiming they are secure, weaponize the national security state to go after political opponents, and above all, drag us closer to nuclear war with each passing day. I left the Democrat Party and became an independent. For the sake of our country, peace, freedom, and hope for a prosperous future, I urge you to do the same." That's Tulsi Gabbard. She's got it. She absolutely does. I don't know whether or not Donald Trump is going to pick her for his vice president. But I have supported conservative causes, not because of political party, but conservatism keeps at bay a government out of control. A government telling you what car to drive, what light bulbs to use, what to think, what vaccinations to get. That's not American government. People who would throw their political opposition into jail on trumped-up charges that go absolutely nowhere vis-a-vis the American judicial system and American law. These people want to turn America into a third-world country ruled by despots at every level. Now, if you're a Democrat and if you're a Democrat progressive and you think that all this is crap, my telephone number is 817-379-2172. I will ask you to justify your ideology. And that's probably why I won't hear from any of these people. Because there is no justification for where the current Democrat Party lies. For Love of Country, Tulsi Gabbard. Go buy the book. Go do it. This is the Wells Report. John David Wells, thanking you very much for being a part of our broadcast. Our telephone number, 817-379-2172. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. If you find value in this broadcast, subscribe to it. If you do subscribe, then by all means, talk to your friends. Share this broadcast with them. Ask them to subscribe to it. Give us thumbs ups. Hit the notification button. If you'd like to support the show financially, we would certainly appreciate it. Go to patreon.com/The Wells Report. You can subscribe and you can throw us a couple of bucks every month. A couple of bucks. It would help us immeasurably. Please do so. So, there is a third world effort to jail the political opposition. It has been colloquially referred to as lawfare. It continues today in a courtroom in New York City. CNN has provided live updates, and you should go there. 2 minutes ago, a Texas Attorney General is in court with President Trump. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is inside the Manhattan courthouse with Donald Trump to show his support for his longtime ally. Quote, with President Trump in New York City to sit through this sham of a trial. This trial is a travesty of justice. I stand with Trump, unquote. He just posted that on X. Trump notably helped pressure the Texas Republican senators to acquit Paxton during an impeachment trial last year. 4 minutes ago, Trump is back in the courtroom. He is re-entering the courtroom following the break. He is speaking to his attorney, Todd Blanche, as he walks down the aisle. Judge Juan Merchan is back on the bench. Trump is not in the courtroom. As I said, these are live updates, so they start with the most recent and go backwards. Trump did not speak as he left the courtroom for a break. He was in the hallway, left, but did not do anything except give a little fist pump. 6 minutes ago, prosecutors say they want to show the jury that Trump's past positive public comments about Michael Cohen. The third reason to introduce the evidence is to show Donald Trump's consciousness of guilt, said prosecutor Matthew Colangelo. Judge Juan Merchan asked Colangelo to elaborate on what evidence would articulate a consciousness of guilt. Colangelo wants to show the jury Trump's public comments back when Cohen's home was first raided in 2018. Trump spoke positively of his then personal fixer at the time. It has to be noted that the prosecution is referring to a relationship that occurred before Michael Cohen was found to be a liar in court. He was found guilty and sentenced. He spent time in jail. But before that, he was indeed Donald Trump's lawyer. And according to Donald Trump, was doing a fine job. He said so because Donald Trump does that kind of thing. But it wasn't Donald Trump that started vilifying Michael Cohen before he was found guilty of perjury. It wasn't Donald Trump. It was the court system. Okay, there you go. Let's see. Continuing. By the way, in this biased report, CNN says Trump spoke positively of his then personal fixer at the time, casting aspersions on the legal profession itself, just to try to provide some kind of anti-Trump sentiment in the jury. Trump's team, attorney Todd Blanche, responded to the idea that President Trump was feeling guilty or somehow had consciousness of guilt with his comments about Cohen in 2018, quote, doesn't work. He continued, the statements that President Trump made at the time leading up to Cohen's guilty plea were not consciousness of guilt or anything happening in this courtroom. The risk the jury will hear that and use it for an improper purpose is huge. Juan Merchan is not saying anything yet. Let's see, 13 minutes ago, as once again, we're starting at the most latest, working backwards. Judge Merchan asked prosecutor Michael Colangelo to explain the aims for presenting evidence to show Donald Trump's attempt to dissuade witnesses like Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels. Colangelo said the first reason is to, quote, offset the defense claim. The witnesses are benefiting from their willingness to testify, showing their cooperation with law enforcement has harmed them more than it has helped them. The second purpose is, quote, to explain why both witnesses initially denied certain facts and have now acknowledged those facts, said Colangelo. This trial, it can't be described as anything except a sham. It can't be. These people said one thing, then they changed their mind. Michael Cohen said one thing, then he changed his mind. And we're not supposed to allow President Trump to say so because of this gag order. By the way, Judge Juan Merchan has not just fined Donald Trump $9,000 for his supposed violations of his gag order, Juan Merchan's gag order, but has also threatened him with jail. Judge Merchan, go ahead. Put President Trump in jail. Do it. Don't just talk about it. Do it. See what happens. I was just reminded of a quote from the movie Tombstone. Jerk that smoke wagon and see what happens. This is awful. This is just awful. Let's see, moving on. If Trump testifies, says CNN, prosecution said they would like to use gag order violations during the cross-examinations. Go ahead. Prosecutor Michael Colangelo says if Trump testifies, they would use the gag order violations during cross-examination. Boy, I'd like to see that. But that brings up another point, doesn't it? We can't see that. Because of New York law, somehow Donald Trump is being treated like a common New York criminal. And therefore, the proceedings are not on national television. The proceedings should be on national television. The people of the United States are going to vote in 2024 regarding what they believe of the candidates. Everything that happens in that courtroom is sifted through the corrupt mainstream media's idea of what happened in the courtroom. We are not getting the truth. The people of the United States, as a jury of the whole, must see all of these proceedings because we have a stake in this. We know the mainstream media will not report the facts because they don't want Donald Trump to be the president again. We are not going to get the truth from these proceedings. We need to see it for ourselves. There should be demonstrations in front of the courtroom for that reason. Peaceful, caring, loving of America. But we need to see what's happening. We don't need to rely on sketches and people like MSNBC commentators telling us what happened in the courtroom. They have no idea what happened in the courtroom. They're just trying to destroy Donald Trump. It is a corrupt media that we must guard against. And the New York court system is playing into that narrative, showing what I consider to be absolute bias, not just against President Trump, but against the people of the United States. All of us need to see this. And I believe that the prosecution is saying, oh my God, we can't do that because people will see that this entire charade is full of holes. Right, we will. We will. I believe in the trial system. I do. I believe in the trial system. I believe that our trial system is mostly just. But not when it comes to President Donald Trump. This guy's getting hammered in a grotesque abuse, twisting, and distortion of American law. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. Prosecutors also want to introduce texts from Daniels' former publicist. Prosecutors want to get in some text messages from Stormy Daniels' then publicist Gina Rodriguez to AMI executive Dylan Howard. The prosecutors say these messages will help contextualize messages Howard sent to her that they plan to show the jury. Trump attorney Todd Blanche said the text would cause the jury to improperly speculate about what she meant at the time. It is indeed hearsay evidence. That doesn't occur in a courtroom. Juan Merchan says he's going to rule imminently. There are 8 new updates. Let's take a look at those. C-SPAN has received a subpoena to testify. C-SPAN received a subpoena to testify, confirms Robert Browning, the executive director of C-SPAN Archives. Trump is whispering with attorney Emil Bove as Robert Browning begins his testimony. Prosecutors are calling their 4th witness, Dr. Robert Browning, the executive director of the C-SPAN Archives. His testimony will be a vehicle to get records into evidence. Prosecutor Rebecca Mangold is handling the questions. The judge, Juan Merchan, says he will allow prosecutors to raise Donald Trump's 2018 comments about Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels for their first two purposes: to rebut claims they have benefited financially from attacking Donald Trump, and why they denied certain facts. But the judge says the prosecutors cannot use Trump's claims to argue consciousness of guilt as of now. Look, those people did profit from their interactions with Donald Trump. Michael Cohen got paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. Also, frankly, Stormy Daniels received $130,000 for her silence in an agreement she signed. Where does that go? While we're destroying American law, why not destroy that part of American law? Non-disclosure agreements are legal. They are entered into voluntarily. There is a signature to prove it. This piercing of American law for the sake of getting Donald Trump exposes all you need to know, in my view. So let's see. The judge has ruled 8 minutes ago that Merchan will not let prosecutors introduce text messages from Gina Rodriguez, Stormy Daniels' then publicist. Good. The judge said they were prejudicial. They don't advance anything. Also, CNN puts this out as under the banner, more on this. Prosecutors had hoped to get into text messages from Rodriguez to AMI executive Dylan Howard. The prosecutors argued these messages will help contextualize the messages Howard sent to her that they plan to show the jury. It is indeed hearsay evidence. So Juan Merchan, I believe, is beginning to see just small shreds of the prejudicial ideology that is pushing the prosecution. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know what Juan Merchan's going to do. I have no idea. Whether he is using these shreds of rational judicial jurisprudence as a way to set up maybe that he was fair all the time. But I doubt it. I doubt it very sincerely. There is also news from 10 minutes ago. Juan Merchan ruled the court will not be in session Friday before Memorial Day because a juror has to catch a flight. Let's see. 9 minutes ago, Gary Farrow finished his testimony. He is a banker. He wrapped up his testimony. He revealed that at no point did he discuss with Donald Trump or his attorney, Michael Cohen, or did he ever speak directly to Trump. Here's what we learned from the testimony, according to CNN. No political inclination. Over his 2 days of testimony, Farrow said there was no indication the Essential Consultants account would be related to a political candidate or be used to pay somebody in the adult film industry, as further scrutiny would have been required in that case. Paperwork resembled real estate. He testified the account paperwork was consistent with a real estate transaction. That's what Cohen told him. Once again, it's not what Trump told him. It's what Michael Cohen told him. Michael Cohen is a confirmed, convicted liar. And here's another example of that, according to this testimony. Fast-paced transaction. Prosecutors showed jurors multiple paper trails to timestamp that this all happened very quickly. Farrow testified that the opening of the account and the transfer of funds out of the account occurred over 24 hours. It took 5 or 6 hours to open the Essential Consultants account on October 26th. When Cohen got the HELOC transfer within 23 minutes of opening the account, 3 minutes before the wire transfer cutoff time at 3 p.m. that same day. The transfer to Stormy Daniels' attorneys was made the next morning. Cohen claims Farrow testified that Michael Cohen listed the purpose of the wire as a retainer. There could be a number of things explaining why an attorney would pay a retainer to another attorney in a real estate transaction, says Farrow. The defense is seeking to distance Trump from Cohen. On cross-examination, the defense sought to establish that at no time Cohen said he was working on behalf of his employer, Trump attempting to distance the president from the payments. The defense had Farrow reaffirm that Cohen was on the paperwork indicated that he was not acting for an agent for anyone when he opened the account. Shell Company claims, had he known Essential Consultants was a shell company and not an operating business, he would have not opened the account, said Farrow. Okay. But why would he know, and why would he need to know? Especially when he was lied to by Michael Cohen as to the purpose of the entire account. Cohen's behavior. Farrow confirmed he was given Cohen as a client because he could be firm. Farrow consistently testified that everything with Cohen was an urgent matter, despite Cohen being Trump's personal attorney. Farrow said he was not considered a PEP or a politically exposed person. Banks keep a closer eye on account activity for clients they designate as PEPs. There was one other notable development in the case. The judge, Juan Merchan, did say that Donald Trump would be released from court proceedings so he could see his son Barron's graduation. Well, that is a good thing. Once again, I am reasonably sure that the judge is beginning to see that he's in a mess, that he has been seduced by this anti-Trump garbage, and that he's going to be the fall guy for it, for all time, for all history. He may be the single most important part of Trump's reelection, not because he wanted to, but because he took part in the first place.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. Thanks very much for joining us. This is one of those shows where you really got to extend. I can't because I've got something I have to do this afternoon. I have to get ready to leave again. I have done such a great job with training Texas State Guard soldiers. By the way, nothing I say about Texas State Guard should be construed as anything beyond my opinion. But I was hired to come and help basic training Texas State Guardsmen. New ones. I hardly wait to see their faces and see their patriotism. NBC had a brilliant report. This is very good analysis by NBC on the trial. I want to show this to you before we go here on the Wells Report. Take a look at this as we continue for Tuesday.
We are joined by NBC News reporter Gary Grumbach, who's been covering the trial. He's been in the room, but now we've got him on set. Gary, it's great to have you here with us.
Great to be here.
Good morning. So tell us a little bit about who else we've heard from as far as last week goes. Bring us up to speed and what you're going to be looking for this week.
So we saw three different parts of Donald Trump's life really explained to the jury this past week. First, we saw, as you mentioned, David Pecker. He explained the catch and kill scheme and the fact that he was doing what he was doing, which catching and killing stories for money by protecting himself, protecting his company, and he said protecting Donald Trump, which I think was an important part of his testimony. We also heard from Rona Graff. She was Trump's longtime gatekeeper, essentially. She was the executive assistant physically right outside of his office. She knew everything that was happening in that place on the 26th floor of Trump Tower. And what she said was she saw in the contact list of the Trump Organization Stormy Daniels' contact information and Karen McDougal's contact information. Stormy Daniels' information was listed just as the word Stormy. Karen's had her full name. She was also aware and talked about sort of like the character defense for the defense, about the character witness, talking about how Donald Trump was a real nice guy. And he was somebody who, if he saw her working late, he would say, go home, enjoy your time with your family. Don't stay here. She said she didn't because she had work to do. But that was something that the defense, I think, appreciated, the character defense part of it.
Absolutely. What do you think we're going to see this week? Tell us what you're looking for.
So at the very end of the day on Friday, we heard from Gary Farrow. He was Michael Cohen's banker, one of the people that Michael Cohen set up one of these shell companies with him. And so he's going to be somebody who we only got a, sort of the introduction of him on Friday. This coming week, when court starts tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning, we're going to start hearing exactly what he knows and when about the money trail, because that's the real connective tissue that needs to start happening here. We have sort of a lot of the details, some of them salacious, some of them interesting about the character of everybody, but they really need to, if the prosecution wants to succeed in this case, start connecting the dots to the actual financial crime here that is alleged, which is the falsification of business records.
And Gary, give us the latest on this gag order back and forth.
So there have been 14 different violations, according to the prosecution, of this gag order, which prohibits Donald Trump from talking about witnesses, talking about the jury, or posting about them on his Truth Social account. 10 of them have already been heard within the court, and the judge has yet to make a decision on that. Now, that could be the most effective gag order there is, because of the idea that if he says, okay, this was a violation, it's a $1,000 fine per violation, and don't post them anymore on Truth Social, that's something Donald Trump could just blow off and brush by and continue going. If he doesn't make a decision, they're still sort of up in the air as to what the actual outcome of those violations could be.
Yeah, and that's great analysis. It was from yesterday before the actual trial took place or reconvened this morning, but still very good analysis from NBC. It's not necessarily working for people of the United States. Fox News is reporting from Reno, Nevada. Voters in one major swing state not happy when asked about their views on former President Donald Trump's ongoing criminal trial in New York City, as well as the multiple other prosecutions he faces. Note, this is Fox News and it is biased coverage. Most of the voters who Fox News spoke to at a campaign event for Republican Senate candidate Sam Brown said they believe Democrats contrived the legal efforts against Trump in order to meddle in this year's presidential election, which a number of recent polls suggest will be trouble for President Biden. This idea is national, not just Nevada. Quote, I'll tell you right now, I'm so upset all I want to do is cry. I feel like it's a sham. It's a kangaroo court. They're trying to keep him off the campaign, one voter said. Another argued the trial was politically motivated. They were going after Trump in order to stop Biden from getting kicked out of the White House. There is more. It shows Democrats are using our political system in the wrong way, said another. A recent Quinnipiac poll found that a plurality of voters said they believe that Trump did something illegal regarding the 34 falsification of business records he's fighting in the trial, something one voter conceded when telling Fox there were people on all sides of the issue. The poll also found a close 45% believed Trump did not do anything illegal, but the same voter said he believed there was a majority in Nevada who will elect him from prison if he is convicted. What a spectacle that would be. What a horrifying spectacle that would be. And why are we here? Why is this happening? Is it because Trump is a nefarious jackass that is going to render the United States an historical footnote? No. No, we're here because the Biden administration And the Democrat Party does not want to relinquish their hold on power. That's all we're seeing here. And the people of the United States, I believe, are coming to understand it. That's the Wells Report for today. I am going to be off again. It was a surprise to me, too. I've been doing Texas State Guard work for the last 3 weeks. It's really nice. I really love the Texas State Guard. Again, I'm solely responsible for what I say on this broadcast. Doesn't have anything to do with the Guard or with the Texas Military Department. But it is wonderful to have a hand in bringing the next great generation of Texas patriots into the Texas State Guard so that they can defend Texans. The State Guard system is beautiful. It's wonderful, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. This is the Wells Report. We'll be back on Monday, so enjoy the rest of the week. I'm sorry about this. I promise I'll be able to stay longer next time. Back with more on Monday. Have yourself a great week and a great weekend. And there we go. Okay, so for those people, I'm really sorry. But like I said, I did such a great job the first week of these absences that the people that run the school said, by all means, come back this week. And I said, okay. So there you go. I have got to turn around. I've got to wash all my uniforms. I've got to turn my bedding around. I've got to do all that stuff. Make sure that I don't forget things this time. That was a problem last time. I'm not going to get into it because it shows the intrinsic buffoonery of the thought process inside this brain. So I'm not going to dissuade you from any possibly errant idea that I have some sort of form of confidence or competence when it comes to this. So I'll just do the best I can. God bless you. Thank you for joining us. Take good care. Be safe. Be American. Please. We'll see you on Monday of next week. Until